Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. I am very happy you decided to join us today. If this is your first time listening to the program, hey, you're going to have a lot of fun here. If you've come back again because you like something you listened to, I welcome you back. If you are more interested in some of the other topics we've covered, and we've got a huge library now of podcasts. You can go to our podcast site at askralph.com. You can go to iTunes or one of the other podcast sites, and you can listen to a plethora, big word there, of topics that you might find interesting. Well, today I'm going to talk about something that is sort of appropriate to talk about this time of year as we got, into the filing season here a couple weeks in and that's don't be the victim of a ghost tax return preparer. Now, I'm not talking about Casper here. I'm not talking about Casper the Friendly Ghost. Remember that when I was a kid. What we're talking about here is a ghost tax return preparer. So let's start with what in the world is a ghost tax return preparer. So here's what a ghost tax return preparer is. It's a preparer that charges you to prepare your return, but they won't sign the return. So typical scenario here is, hey, I got my buddy Al over here, and, Al does taxes. So Al will meet you at the Arby's, and he'll do your taxes for you. And then you sit down with Al and you go through all your stuff and he puts it together. Maybe he uses a laptop computer and he gets to the end of it and gives you this tax return. He says, okay, Joe, here's your tax return. But you know what? It's a lot better if you sign it. And you don't even know I use it because see, if you use a tax preparer, they might look at it more closely. But if you do it yourself, then you can kind of play dumb. So that's what these preparers do. They tell the taxpayer to sign and mail it to the IRS or e-file it themselves. But they refuse to digitally sign it as the pay preparer, and that is against the law. And here's what the law says. By law, anyone who is paid to prepare or assist in preparing federal tax returns must have a valid, and this is a current year, what's called a PTIN. That's a Preparer Tax Identification Number. And going along with that is paid preparers must sign the return and include their PTIN on the tax return. So you have to be really careful about this. If, your friend Al is doing tax returns, you need to understand you might as well be doing it yourself because this is not a good thing. According to the IRS, and this is right from their website, this is a communication dated February 7, 2019. It says, according to the IRS, similar to other tax preparation schemes, dishonest and unscrupulous ghost tax return preparers look to make a fast buck by promising a big refund or charging fees based on the percentage of the refund. These scammers hurt honest taxpayers who are simply trying to do the right thing and file a legitimate tax return. You've been warned, folks. Look for somebody that has a license to practice. Look for someone that has a PTIN. This is not an unreasonable thing to ask. You can go onto the IRS website and you can verify this information. So, what are some other things that these ghost preparers may also try to do? Here's a big red flag. They require payment in cash only and will not provide a receipt. Go figure. They want cash only and they're not going to provide a receipt. Well, guess what? They don't want anybody to know what they've done. Boy, that's a real winner there. Another big thing they do is invent income to erroneously qualify their clients for tax credits or claim fake deductions to boost their refunds. If any person is promising you a refund without seeing your particular situation, they are dishonest and unscrupulous. There is absolutely no way that I can manufacture a refund. Well, I shouldn't say that. If I wanted to be unscrupulous, I probably could manufacture a refund. But let's set that aside. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm going to be ethical and I'm going to be above board, which I'm going to do because I'm licensed. See, that's the difference. I have a license. So if I do something ridiculous, the State Board of Accountancy is going to take my license. So that's important to me. Here's another big red flag, and I've actually heard of people doing this. They direct the refunds into their own bank account rather than the taxpayer's account. Duh. Now, see, the side that they don't mention here in this article from the IRS is That's exactly what they do. They put it in their own account. But let's say they do this. Oh, Charles, I'll do your tax return for you. Yeah, you're going to get a $4,000 refund. Look, here's what we're going to do. I know you need this money right away. So I'll do the tax return and I'll get your $4,000 refund in my account. But right now, I'll go ahead and give you $2,000 in cash. That way you'll have that money right away. And then we'll settle up the rest of it down the road. Well, guess what, folks? Then you don't see that person again. Or that person says something like, well, you know what? Yeah, I got your refund, but it was short. So we'll just have to make it, what it is. So how do you avoid this? Well, first of all, like I said, verify who you're working with. Work with a licensed accountant. Go to the Delaware Board of Accountancy website and check to see if the person has a license. Sort of a no-brainer. If you're not working with a licensed accountant, at least go to the IRS website and see if they have a PTIN. If they don't have a PTIN, don't touch them. And that's not just the person who prepares it. It's anybody that's involved in the process. The IRS urges taxpayers to review their tax returns carefully before signing and ask questions if something is not clear. And for any direct deposit refund, taxpayers should make sure both the routing and account number on the completed tax return are correct. I always ask my clients, is your bank account information correct? Can you verify the last 4 digits of your bank account number? That's important. This is your tax return. Even though I may be preparing your tax return, it is your obligation to review it. In fact, in our engagement letter that we use in our practice, we actually make you sign saying that I am going to review this tax return. Because the truth is, I've had clients that have no clue. They just say to me, Ralph, what's it look like? Okay, you're getting $2,000 refund. Fantastic. Where do I sign? I won't do business like that, folks. This is your tax return. You are attesting to the information in it. Now, that's true. I mean, you have some benefits from going to a tax preparer or an accountant like myself. You don't know the rules. I do. And that's going to be, to some extent, a way that you could argue against the IRS. It's called, reliable or reliance on a third-party provider. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's still your return, and you're going to be held responsible for the contents of that return. So you need to understand what's going into it. If you don't understand what's going into it, ask questions. I've had clients say to me, well, I drop it off with that guy down in such and such, and, he always brings me a return back. And, Ralph, it's the strangest thing. He always has, charitable contributions on here, and he has this and that and the other thing. And, I'm always saying, hey, well, wait a second. Did you give him receipts for that? Well, no, he just makes it up. A big one of those is charitable contributions. A client will say to me, well, just put whatever the maximum is. And I look at them like a monkey doing a math problem, and I'm like, there is no maximum. It's 60% of your income now. Do you really want me to put that much on there? Well, that guy Louis who did my taxes last year, he just made up stuff. He just put it on there, and it was great. So listen, folks, avoid these ghost tax return preparers and make sure you understand what's on your return. Because in the end, it's your return, and you're going to be on the line if it gets jacked up.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.